Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
As we mentioned earlier, all of our guests today are brought to you by, and it's a Friday, brought to you by our friends at Bayside Oceanfront Resort, 250-248-8333, or visit BaysideResortParksville.com and book your winter escape today. I'm getting a lot of this. The Canucks could have won the Stanley Cup yesterday. I bring up Paul Lint. All right.
The Hollywood Squares guy.
From Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
He was the middle square. He was a super funny guy, the star of the show. Peter Marshall was the host back then. So many people texting in about Paul Lynn, and I forgot this. He was Samantha's uncle on Bewitched, underrated superstar.
Bewitched, great show.
That's
Larry
unsigned.
Hagman was in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, Thomas Drance just fascinated by this. Hey, Thomas, I got to say, that last segment with you might have been your best ever on this show. It was outstanding.
Yeah, it was real long quotes from you. Real long quotes.
Yeah, sorry about that. I have no idea what happened right before you were bringing me in. You were like, and now we'll go to Thomas, and then my sound died entirely, and then I couldn't get back into the meeting. I've never had that happen. I mean, we do this every week. I've never had that issue. Yeah. So it goes. I'm frozen sometimes. That's happened to me before, but never the complete glitch out. So excuse me, coming to you live from my cell phone.
There you go. Okay, and everything's looking fine. I mentioned how well the beard looks. Hey, is there anything wrong with grinding out a win against a 32nd place hockey club?
Not at this time of year, right? When you need the 2 points and you can't afford to slip against a team like San Jose, those are 2 points you absolutely have to have. You get them. It doesn't really matter if they're looking good or looking like that. And that did not look particularly good. I think what does matter, though, Donnie, right, is what we saw is symptomatic of a team that lacks juice, right? I thought a team that lacks both juice and speed, frankly, right? I thought you saw throughout that game, especially with Thatcher Demko standing on his head off the rush throughout the evening, but especially really the Canucks had 7 good minutes at the start of the game, and then they got outplayed by the San Jose Sharks right on through, I thought. And a lot of that was San Jose's forwards, I thought gave the Canucks a lot of trouble with their speed, especially off the rush, and Vancouver didn't really have an answer to that. But look, they find a way. They get the 2 points. They need to. They're still, I think, better than Calgary. They should be able to hold Calgary off. I'm still looking at Utah in that rearview mirror because that's a team with speed and that can actually generate offensively as a team that could put some pressure on the Canucks down the stretch here. But look, we know this team. We know this team should be better than Calgary. They don't have Quinn Hughes on the ice, or they didn't last night. They haven't across the last few games, and they've looked good. They've held the fort despite that. I think that's a positive sign, especially because Hughes is, how they manufacture goals, right? With Hughes in the lineup, they've got a shot to score. Without him, it looks like that some nights. And in fact, a lot of nights, right? I think you could say even the Detroit game, for all their chances, right? They for all their zone time, they weren't generating quality looks. So that's the issue. That's sort of the issue you bump into. This team just doesn't generate enough scoring chances with Quinn Hughes in the lineup, but without him, man, there are nights where it's going to look like that. And that looked like, some guy trying to get ketchup out of the glass bottle at the diner, just smashing it. Doesn't know to tap the neck. Hughes lets you tap the neck of the bottle.
Is that a thing?
What?
I didn't know that.
You didn't know how to get ketchup out of a glass bottle?
No.
Yeah, tap the neck. Gentle tap of the neck. Tap, tap, tappity tap.
Wow.
Yeah, this makes up for not having any audio in the previous segment.
You learn something new every day.
Ketchup tips.
Life hacks.
Ketchup tips.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Western Canadian, man. You got to have the ketchup tips.
All right. Exactly. Good point. I know your inbox at work at 650 is littered with Elias Pettersson. What's going on? JT Miller was traded a week ago today, Thomas, and he's got 1 assist in 4 games since Miller left. No goals in 8 games, no points in 3. What's going on there?
Well, the Canucks didn't have a shot on goal 5-on-5 in Elias Pettersson's 13 minutes last night. I don't know how you explain that. More than anything, with Hughes out of the lineup, with Miller traded, that's a night where you need Pettersson to be leading the charge, helping you generate. And they generated literally nothing. Bupkiss with him on the ice, 5-on-5. I also thought his play on the power play was, fitful, indecisive. Right. Obviously, he lost his spot on power play 1 as the game went along. So if you were hoping for signs of progress from Elias Pettersson, look away. Last night offered you nothing on that score. I'm watching him play, and I heard you on Halford and Bruff earlier, Rick, and we've had this conversation privately, but I just don't see burst in his skating stride. I think I'm watching a player who I don't think can get there right now to execute what's in his mind's eye. And that's tough because what's in his mind's eye, like Pettersson at his best, at sort of his imperious productive best, functions kind of like a supercomputer on the ice, right? Like he sees all the angles and he's precise enough to execute them. And right now it just looks to me, this is just my take watching him play. It just looks to me like he can't get there in order to execute what he's, the sorts of skilled plays that he's, made his name on. And I don't know if that comes back this year. I don't know if there's something the club needs to do to work with him on skating. I don't know if it's an injury management thing, but there's something off in his game at the moment. And I struggle to imagine, just given the way that his shot velocity is way down, his skating speed is way down. And if you go into the data specifically and sort of look at the NHL Edge data closely, you'll see that all of the top shot speeds and skating burst speeds came in like the first 2 weeks of the season. There's been not much in terms of pace or velocity to his game of late. And, I don't know how that gets sorted out over the balance of the season. I think it might be one of those things that needs an off season to work on. And if I say that, then you have to think, wow, that's an awfully large risk that the club is going to be looking at in sort of judging whether or not they should consider moving him before the NMC kicks in. My view, the moment you trade Elias Pettersson, you don't have Elias Pettersson. You no longer have a bid, a bet in that might pay off with an elite forward on your roster, period. It's a tough situation, but I don't think it's a situation the club can walk away from. You need to be able to find a way organizationally to get the best out of this guy, because we know the sort of player that he can be when he's on. He ain't on right now. He's
a great player, and when he's on, you see why he's worth 11.6. But right now he's not on. But I want to go with the GM said last night on your radio station that he's not hurt. No one has ever said he's hurt. If he is hurt, why not sit him? Landeskog in Colorado hasn't played in a year and a half. Like, why not just do the common sense? If he's hurt, here, take a couple of weeks off for a month. Why is he playing the Four Nations if he's hurt? Like, I don't get it. You're saying he's not skating well because he's hurt. Well, then sit him.
Well, I mean, to be clear, I don't know whether or not he's hurt. I would remind everybody that when he had the wrist issue during that, final Travis Green, Bruce, there it is, bump season, no one copped to that being an issue either until Pettersson sat down at exits. Pettersson told me in Nashville during the playoffs last year, like, he was asked, are you playing through something? And he was like, I'm fine, I'm playing. And 2 weeks later at exits, disclosed the knee tendonitis. I mean, it's not uncommon for everyone to hide sort of exactly what's going on with the player's health. And I mean, would it surprise you at all if a player, especially one who's been in the spotlight due to a fractured locker room and a relationship with a teammate, was gutting it out through something? I wouldn't. I mean, that's pretty a standard operating procedure here, Rick. I'm just going off what my eyes tell me. And in lieu of a more compelling explanation, my eyes tell me that this guy's speed burst, his acceleration, is severely diminished from what we've seen in past seasons.
Yeah, that stat about the skating speed and the shot speed is alarming. And I'm not an analytics guy. The edge, it's way above me, but I have seen that, and that's alarming. Another player, Thomas, Thatcher Demko, is he back? The numbers say he is.
Well, the numbers say it's small sample, 4 games with a 950 plus save percentage. The Canucks have also gotten some sturdy saves. They've also gotten some sturdy performances from Kevin Lankinen across this stretch. They've got 950 goaltending across the last 7 games to go 5-1-1, and they were at 860 across the 11 games prior where things really started to look dire for this group. So, yeah, I mean, this team looks like a different group when they get the saves. No question about that. They look a lot more resilient, right, when they're getting saves. So, yeah, I mean, look, he looked awesome last night. I thought he looked great, too, earlier this week against the Predators. I mean, I thought this was 2 games in which Demko can fairly be said to have stolen the Canucks wins. Honestly, I think he stole them wins in both games. Yeah. The truth is that this team, as well as they played defensively, gave up a fair bit in both contests, and that was Demko doing something we don't see that often these days in the NHL. How many times do you turn on a hockey game from around the league, and really it's the goalie that's sort of stealing things. We used to see it 4 times a night. Now you see it 4 times a week, right? In this shooter first version of the NHL, which, by the way, thank God, right? Like, it's so much better as a product like this. But when you see 2 consecutive performances at that level from a guy like Demko, especially with what he's been through and how much his game struggled to find its rhythm as he returned, you gotta like that. That's a very good sign for this team. Demko hitting a sort of ceiling case down the stretch is what makes the Canucks actually one of those teams that has a shot to not just make the playoffs, but maybe put up a fight against the Winnipeg, Vegas, Edmonton tier teams that would be their most likely or probable first-round opponent.
Took a while, but it was worth it, Thomas. Thank you so much. Sounded good. The audio is just fine.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen. Cheers.